Right.
Just wait for that whole...
This is the week for folks that are listening to us in the future. This is the week that the Trayvon Martin trial concluded and George Zimmerman being found not guilty.
Right.
And this is a fascinating time in our culture, and I was really glad that you were coming on the podcast today because I really wanted to get your take on this.
I hope I'm up to speed.
Well,
I'm a little out of the loop.
I don't know anything about it.
I know, I know about the law that they have in
Stand
place.
your ground, yeah.
Yeah, and I know what happened for the most part, and I know the verdict.
Well, that's very good of you to be honest about that. I think that's super important when it comes to these fucking big hot topic issues that everybody wants to discuss. One of the things that's been really gross is like these people that are almost, it feels like to me like they have brownie points for like running towards a progressive opinion in a very aggressive way.
Sure.
Like Miley Cyrus tweeted, "No justice, no peace." Like, aren't you fucking 12 or something? Are you really, and you're a stoner, you're saying no justice, no peace? We really should have no peace?
Right.
Because, so other people should die because something went wrong here in the judicial system?
Well, I think what you have there is classic reactionary thinking.
Exactly.
And, I've been that guy. I know what that guy is. I mean,
kudos to you for figuring it out.
Well, after doing political talk radio for a year and a half, like when I started Air America, I was just a reactionary guy. I was a lefty guy, but I was not educated. So, basically anything that was anti-authority, anti-Republican, anti-war, I'd be like, fuck that guy. I mean, my comedy was like that to some degree. But then when you get in the trenches of it and you really start to educate yourself about what issues are, how, radio personalities are being used by political parties to move talking points, what the talking points are, when it comes down to being a real progressive, they're not so knee-jerk. They're fairly deliberate. They're fairly focused on what their elements or what their causes are and how to sort of facilitate slow change. Rapid change is not, really possible. But with these kind of issues, it's very quick. And I tweeted something yesterday. I said there's that occasional self-righteousness is more annoying than consistent self-righteousness.
Yeah, it's true.
And it's exactly what you're talking about. It's just, out of nowhere, somebody just goes, and they don't stand for that any other day or really engage in the public conversation. But as soon as there's a hot topic and there's momentum with it, then everybody's like, they get righteous.
Yeah, Duncan was at a party and his friend started crying and screaming that she wanted to kill Zimmerman. She was saying, I swear to God I would fucking kill him. And he said she's a lawyer. Wow. She was crying and screaming. Did you just picture it, though? Picture Silver Lake, okay? Hipsters, okay? It's like everyone's like trying to be in the top of the moral food chain here. Everyone's trying to be vegan the longest, And then the verdict comes down and she's screaming that she would kill Zimmerman if she could, which is amazing.
Well, for me, in my experience in the last day or two, without doing a hyper amount of research, is that, those type of gun laws are tricky because when things like this happen, it really comes down to he said and the dead guy said. So, the dead guy can't talk.
And on top of that, I mean, even if the gun laws weren't tricky, I mean, even if what he did was, completely illegal, the bottom line is, how did it happen? Like, what's going on? You have people patrolling that can't defend themselves and they carry guns? And was he justified in bothering that kid, or was he bothering that kid just because that kid was black? Did he talk to the young man? Did he say, hey, buddy, what's going on, brother? Where you at? Where you going? Oh, my dad lives over here. All right, cool, man. Have a good one.
Yeah.
Could it have been handled that way?
Right. Well, that's what the point is that once a guy's dead and you have a law that says you can defend yourself with a gun, it's on you. Then who the hell knows what happened there? You just got a guy who says, "Well, this is what happened. Look, I have black guys, I have whatever, and and I killed him."
Well, let me play devil's advocate here, and I don't really have. I don't think that this is a clear black and white issue. Pardon the pun. I think it's very interesting that Zimmerman has a last name Zimmerman, because if it was Ortiz, things would get really weird. But even though he's Latino, he has his Jewish last name, so it's become a white thing. It's really kind of interesting how the segmentations of the race in this, when I go on Twitter and I look at all the different black people overwhelmingly in support of Trayvon Martin, overwhelmingly, and a lot of white people not. you know, and then, no, I don't hear anything from Latino folks. Like, there's not a black versus Latino thing. So in the base argument of weirdness when it comes to racism in this scenario, because I think it is, there's a lot of racism involved whenever there's any hot button topic. It's black or white, or it's just automatically you're going to get a certain amount of it. But I saw very little of it from Latino folks, and I thought that was interesting.
Well, they might not know that he's Latino.
Yeah, well,
they may not be registering. I mean, somebody called me out this morning on Twitter saying, you know, Zimmerman's Hispanic, asshole, because I had said on my podcast today, you know, that there is a different set of rules that people of color, that brown people have to exist by,
right?
In terms of what they have to be afraid of and how they accommodate, you know, those fears. So whether he was Latino or not, my issue with it is that if you have somebody who's given a gun, all right, and they have a job to do that might involve a gun, it can't just be a vigilante kind of thing. You know, like it seems that there was a protocol that wasn't paid attention to, that if you're patrolling a gated community and you see trouble, you should call the fucking police.
I think he did quite, I mean, and again, I'm not exactly sure of the, you know, you get his version of it.
And that's all you get.
But he did call the police, and they told him to go back to his car, apparently, and he says the kid jumped him. That's what allegedly happened.
So the kid had to die. It's just
well,
it's a little...
I know what you're saying. Look, I am not in favor... first of all, I don't think anybody who can't defend themselves should ever be allowed to be in a position where you're enforcing laws. I think it gets very dangerous if you can't physically defend yourself.
Yeah.
Because I think... I mean, and this is obviously coming from someone who has a history in martial arts, but I think it should be mandatory. It's like you can't defend yourself if you don't know how to physically engage someone and you panic and this guy's on top of you beating your ass. You shouldn't have been there in the first place. Not only that, if you're that guy, what are the odds that you handled the situation, the interaction with this young man with confidence? If you're a confident person, you go, hey man, everything cool? You know, you need help.
If you have a gun, that trumps confidence for morons.
It doesn't though. It doesn't though, because they didn't earn it.
Right. Well, no, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that as you know, like a prerequisite. Right. I'm saying that an idiot with no confidence with a gun feels confident. He
does, but let me tell you something. If someone gets a hold of you and you have a gun, you know how long it takes to shoot a gun? You have to make sure that it's cocked. You have to make sure that the safety's not on. If there's a scramble, you're fucked. And if someone gets a hold of you, you're done.
Right.
Yeah, but in his situation, he shot the guy where the guy was on top of him.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy was grounding and pounding him and was beating his ass when he was on top of him. Like, how did it get to that? Why did the kid attack you? What the fuck did you do? Like, how badly was this handled? Or is the kid crazy? Is the kid wildly aggressive?
Well, but also that's one of the questions is at what point does profiling, you know, bring out anger in somebody that lives that life? That is the different set of rules that black people have to live by in this country, is that guy said, you know, he may have just been walking across the goddamn way, and, you know, everybody's got a breaking point. Mm-hmm. And if you're just being called out because, you know, some guy with a gun, some fucking rent-a-cop, you know, decides he's going to pull rank on you, and because you're black, and he's just going to call you out because of that, who the hell knows when anyone's personal breaking point is? It's like, you fuck. I'm just walking home, asshole. Mm-hmm. Fuck you.
Exactly. Abso-fucking-lutely. Abso-fucking-lutely. And that's why I think law enforcement in this country is one of the least appreciated things, and it should be handled as it should be a high honor. Like, someone who's a cop should not just be like someone who enforces the law and tells you what the fuck to do. It should be a valuable part of your community. Safety and about fellowship and about friendship. It shouldn't always
I think it used to be like that.
I wish, I hope. I mean, maybe it can be.
Well, I think that when there were beat cops and when neighborhoods were tighter and when, you know, things seemed more controllable. I mean, the weird thing that happens, I think, when you really think about what a cop does, and I don't know when I had this realization, but it's not an uncommon one. It's out there, is that at some point, especially if you're in a city and you're a cop, you realize, like, this is never going to end. What I'm fighting is never going to end. Yeah. And, you know, the sort of, like, taxing that must put on your emotions to know that every fucking day some fucking idiot is going to do something stupid, and I'm going to be, you know, I'm going to have to defend my life, defend my community, you know, do what's right by the law, and it's never going to get better.
Never.
that's an exhausting, fucked up job. So I agree with you.
Well, I grew up with a cop. You know, my dad was a cop.
Right.
When he grew up, I mean, I say till I was about 6. It's the last I spoke with him. But he was fucking insane. And I don't think that there's any small part of the job that he had, being a police officer in Newark, New Jersey, or Harrison.
Yeah, in Newark. I mean, it's crazy.
Jesus Christ. I mean, I remember very little of it because I was young. But it's like living with savages. There's monkeys with clothes. I mean, we were all Italians, and there's all these Irish people, and there's Puerto Ricans and black folks, and there was crime, and people back then were like monkeys. We were monkeys with clothes.
Yeah.
I mean, the humans of the 1960s and 70s bear no resemblance to the fucking people you see today.
Is that true?
Ah, fuck yeah.
Well, those,
absolutely.
except for the ones that were, our age or younger in the 60s and 70s, now they're just, exhausted old men that don't have the energy to be as actively monkey-like as they used to.
I think also, though, that I think, like, the kind of violence that you see today is probably accelerated. It's like you saw it in a different way then, I think, probably, because this is all, It
was also pre sort of, any sort of evolution from institutionalized racism at the time.
Yeah.
Is that there was very specific, color lines drawn. You're not that far away from any sort of progress legally with race in this country. So the tensions were still very real.
Unless you went off to a university and escaped the boundaries of the confinement
just got
of
the
your
fuck
culture.
out.
Yeah, you have to get out.
I mean, all those East Coast towns were just crazy, and they were